Exposed, the spine-chilling secrets of a haunted garage mechanic in the sinister Smoky Mountains, Lisa gripped the steering wheel tighter, the night pressing against her like an unwelcome memory. The winding roads of Oakridge cloaked in darkness were a maze, and with each turn, her anxiety spiked. Her heart raced, fueled by the grief that had settled in since her husband's passing. The weight of responsibilities felt crushing, and exhaustion seeped into her bones. Just when she thought she might escape the shadows of her mind, her car sputtered, choking and grinding to a stop. Panic clawed at her throat. She was far from the main road, and in the eerie silence, dread pooled in her stomach. A flickering light up ahead caught her eye, a desperate beacon in the oppressive night. Earl's Repairs, the rusted sign groaned in the wind. Clenching her teeth, she rolled down the window to peer into the gloom, where the silhouette of a man loomed near a weathered garage. Earl was a familiar figure in Oakridge, always smiled at the diner where she worked. But something felt off as she approached. His welcoming grin stirred an unsettling churn in her gut. "Need a hand, miss?" His voice was smooth, but as the flickering light illuminated his face, Lisa couldn't shake the feeling that beneath that friendly facade lurked something far darker. As she left her car, unease prickled at her skin. The garage was cluttered, tools rusted, and the air thick with an unnameable tension. Earl diligently worked on her car, but every clang of metal echoed like a ghostly whisper. For a moment, she felt like she was not alone. The wind wrapped around her, carrying an eerie chorus of fleeting sounds, shadows dancing just out of sight. She tried to brush it aside. She had 2 kids waiting at home, and she needed to project strength. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Hours felt like seconds, and just when she thought Earl was finally finished, an ominous hush fell over the woods. Something twisted in her gut as she sought to ignore the creeping shadows that lurked behind the trees. She noticed her hands trembling as she clutched her phone. Oddly enough, the townsfolk had appeared more on edge lately. Nervous glances exchanged, hushed whispers trailing off as she approached. The stories of families vanishing in these mountains loomed large like thunderclouds over her already burdened heart. It wasn't until a child's toy inexplicably appeared on her porch, catching the light of the moon, that unease morphed into a deep-rooted fear. The tales, folk legends reverberating with the chill of night clutched at her mind. Earl's garage had a sinister reputation. The ghostly echoes of those who lost themselves in the dark woods lingered like a festering wound. Could Earl, the trusted mechanic, be hiding secrets graver than mere automotive repairs? With growing dread, Lisa embarked on her own investigation. Wherever she turned, whispered warnings seemed to dance through the trees. And then it happened. Her children went missing. A tight coil of dread gripped her chest, heart pounding as she stumbled through the haunted woods. Each rustle felt alive, the shadows pulling her deeper into oblivion. Confronting Earl became an inevitable march toward destiny. She stepped into the garage, where the air thickened with malevolence, and there he stood, his cold smile growing wider like a predator's. Then the door crashed shut behind her, locking her in. The world outside thinned and darkened as she felt the heart of the woods beat around her. Earl's eyes shone with a malignant gleam. "You shouldn't have come here," he whispered, echoing with the cries of her children in the growing shadows. In that heart-stopping moment, she realized, she wasn't alone, and the garage held horrors that could swallow them all. Would Lisa's determination break the chains of fear that bound her, or would she too disappear, swallowed by the darkness of the Smoky Mountains? Lisa's breath caught in her throat, the air thick and suffocating. The shadows in the corners of the garage seemed to pulse, alive with dread. Earl leaned closer, his smile now twisted, teeth glinting like daggers in the weak light. "You should be listened," he murmured, the warmth of his voice turning chilling as it scraped against her fear, heart hammering. Lisa backed away, fingers desperately searching for an escape. The door behind her was solid, unyielding, a barrier to the world outside where her children were still waiting. "Where are they?" she demanded, her voice trembling yet fierce. Earl simply chuckled, a sound so hollow it echoed against the grimy walls. "Lost," he replied, eyes glimmering with dark delight. "But you can still find them if you're brave enough." He gestured to a darkened corner of the garage shrouded in shadow. "You see, they can hear you, they always can. But can you hear them?" A sickening fear twisted in her stomach as Lisa's gaze darted towards the corner. Faint whispers drifted through the gloom, each syllable prickling the hairs on her neck. Her children's voices. The thought sent her reeling. "Stop. Just stop," she shouted, but the whispers only intensified, weaving in and out of her resolve. With every instinct screaming at her, she forced her feet to move. She had to know. She inched toward the corner, dread pooling like ice in her veins. The dim light revealed a dusty old toolbox, aged and worn, cobwebs draping over it like ghostly shrouds. This place, it felt sinister, like a trap laid just for her. Earl watched in silence, a predator savoring the moment. "You'll soon understand what binds this place." "What binds them?" His voice dipped into a conspiratorial hush. "The sacrifice, they never leave willingly." Lisa swallowed hard, the icy grip of fear coiling deeper. "What do you mean?" she whispered, forcing herself to meet his gaze, but his eyes flickered away to the toolbox. With a shaking hand, she lifted the lid, and a musty smell wafted into the air, overwhelming her senses. Inside lay an assortment of rusted tools, but something else caught her eye: scrap paper, scrawled notes that looked years old. Holding her breath, she sifted through the papers, heart racing as fragmented sentences slipped into focus. "The forest hungers, offering, lost souls." The last line sent jolts of raw terror through her. "Find the heart of the woods. You see." Earl's voice dripped with venomous satisfaction. "They're waiting for you to make the choice. Every child taken feeds the hunger of the Smokies." In that moment, Lisa felt time halt. Memories of her children flashed through her mind, their laughter ringing like bells now muffled by despair. The flickering lights of the garage warped as heaviness crashed down upon her. "I won't allow it," she shouted, the defiance kindling a spark deep within. Earl's smile faded, replaced by something darker. "You don't have a choice," he hissed, stepping closer. The garage rumbled, and shadows twisted, pulsing as if the very walls were alive. Everything felt crushing, pressing in on her from all sides. But one thought pierced the rising fear: she had to fight, for her children and for her own survival. The darkness shimmered, and within it, a presence seemed to awaken. Lisa felt the air tremble, heart pounding in her ears. "You can't hold me here." She stepped back, ready to push past him, but Earl blocked her path, eyes glowering with malevolence. The garage shifted, shadows swirling like a living thing as the whispers crescendoed into a haunting wail. Something twisted inside her, and it ignited like a wildfire. Lisa lunged, desperate to escape the clutches of the nightmare around her. She dashed past Earl, who lunged after her, anger flashing across his face. Then the ground heaved beneath her feet, a dark hole splitting open where the garage floor had been, pulling her back towards the secrets buried deep in the Smoky Mountains. "Come home," he called after her, his voice laced with insanity, echoing in her mind. Just as darkness began to swallow her, Lisa fought against it. The shadows writhed like a living nightmare. She thought of her children, where they were, what they would become if she faltered. And then, in the depths of that terrible void, she heard their cries: "Help us." The urgency surged through her. This isn't over. She would uncover the truth. But as she braced to leap from the edge of darkness, the moment she stepped into the unknown shrouded everything in silence, drenching her in terror. What awaited her beyond that plunge into the abyss? And would she ever find her children, before her own soul was offered in sacrifice? Lisa plunged into darkness, falling through space as her heart thudded like a war drum. An unsettling quiet wrapped around her, swallowing her screams. The air turned thick and cold, pressing against her, stifling her breath. She fought to draw in a gulp of oxygen, but the silence was oppressive, and time felt like a viscous fluid, slowing, thickening, drowning, then, a sudden rush. She hit the ground hard, breath knocked out of her. A dim light flickered overhead, illuminating the contours of her surroundings. The musty scent of earth and decay overwhelmed her senses. She was in a tunnel, walls damp and lined with roots that twisted like fingers yearning for her. "Mom!" The sound of her children's voices, hauntingly familiar, echoed down the corridor. She scrambled to her feet, adrenaline surging as she darted forward. "Hold on. I'm coming." The panic laced her words, each step reverberating against the walls, a frantic plea in the dark. The whispers of the tunnel were deep now, swirling around her, taunting, mocking. As she ran, the air shifted, the warmth of hope twisting into a bone-chilling reality. The voices grew clearer, intertwined with unearthly tones. "Mommy, help us, were they real? Or a trick designed to lead her into the grasp of whatever lurked in the shadows?" Clarity raced through her with every lurching step. She had to reach them. Whatever lay in wait, she felt the darkness closing in, pressing against her sanity. "Mom!" The voice pierced through the cacophony, pulling at her heart. The way it echoed made her chest tighten with fear. She quickened her pace, but the tunnel seemed endless, stretching like an unwelcome nightmare. The walls whispered secrets, drawing her deeper, a serpent coiling around her mind. Suddenly, the path split. One way was bathed in dim red light, flickering like a dying flame, the other plunged into an impenetrable blackness. "Follow the laughter," the voice fluttered like a moth's wings, disorienting and faint. With little time to decide, she rushed toward the flickering light. It led her to a chamber, vast and hollow. The air here was different, charged, electric. The ground was covered with old bones, strewn as if feeding the earth's appetite. In the center stood a stone altar, grotesque and ancient, overgrown with roots that pulsated as if it had its own heartbeat. And around it, shadows danced, forming shapes that mimicked her children, their faces distorted in agony. "Mommy, help us!" They cried, but the urgency drained into despair as the shadows twisted further, faces warping into a cruel mockery. "No. No. I want to let you have them." Lisa screamed, her voice barely breaking through the thick air. But the shadows closed in, circling the altar, pulling her closer to its dark embrace, promising danger and dread. Desperation clawed at her throat. If she could just reach them, she could rescue them from this nightmare. Focusing on the altar, she felt a surge deep within, a force awakening within her. Tremors ripped through the ground, shaking the altar. The shadows hesitated as she clenched her fists, feeling power bloom, a deadly light rising from her core. "You don't own me!" she roared, then plunged forward toward the altar. "Mom!" Their cries echoed in harmony, but just as she reached for them, a darkness exploded from the altar, enveloping her whole. Choking laughter filled the air, a monstrous blend of Earl's sickening delight and the painful wails of the lost hung in a fragile balance. Lisa felt herself falling again, deeper and deeper into the void, the shadows pulling her back, dragging her down toward secrets she would unearth, betrayals engraved in the very heart of the Smokies. The moment stretched, a tangled mess of anguish and regret, but somewhere beneath the darkness, she still heard them. "Help us." What was the price for her children's freedom? And could she break the cycle that condemned them all to suffer within the forest's insatiable hunger? Lisa landed hard on a cold, damp surface that smelled of rust and old oil. The echoes of her children's cries faded, replaced by a heavy silence that blanketed the workshop. Darkness swallowed her, save for a lone flickering fluorescent light that cast a sickly glow across the room, glinting off tools coated with dark residue. Where was she? This place felt wrong, like a snapshot of a ghostly past come to life. The walls were lined with faded photographs depicting families standing proudly beside their cars, smiles frozen in time. Yet, only shadows remained here now. "Mommy," the voice was softer than before, more distant. She strained to hear it, her heart racing. It echoed again, tremulous and stretching across the chilling air, but she couldn't tell from which corner it came. Swallowing hard, Lisa stumbled to her feet. The vastness of the space was overwhelming. Places where grease stains mingled with echoes of laughter now felt like an arena of despair. Each step echoed beneath her, a reminder that she was not alone. Look closer, Lisa. The air grew thick with an ominous presence, and she could feel it, a ghostly chill that crept down her spine, settling into her bones. The walls almost sighed as they shifted, closing in like a vice. What kind of horror had she wandered into? "Help us," the voice whispered again, drawing her toward a heavy, rusted door in the corner, half-closed and crying out to be opened. Lisa grasped the handle, her heartbeat matching the rusted creaking of the hinges as she pulled it wide. Inside, the room was dark, save for the pale moonlight seeping through the grime-covered windows. Flickering fluorescent bulbs buzzed above, casting wild shadows toward the center of the room. A monstrous machine, its gears large and sharp. It seemed more like a creature than a tool, its metallic body twisted in a grotesque parody of life. "Mom!" The cry fractured into a series of fearful whimpers. Her children's faces flashed in her mind, filled with fear, loneliness, begging for salvation. But this machine was something else, a predatory nightmare that thrived in the darkness. It rumbled softly, sounding almost like a heartbeat, invading her senses, filling her with dread. As Lisa stepped closer, the walls seemed to whisper, threats mingled with the rush of old memories. "They're trapped just as we were." She felt a cold sweat trickle down her back. She turned to bolt, but the door slammed shut behind her, the sound echoing like a death knell. Panic surged. Breathing fast, she staggered back toward the ominous machine, drawn by some twisted force she couldn't comprehend. Suddenly, the machine roared to life, slicing through the silence. Its gears whirred and clanked, a haunting melody that made her stomach turn. She could see now a mass of tangled wires and rusted pieces seemed to writhe, covered in thick, glistening grime. "Mommy, save us!" The words morphed into a sensation that pierced through her, a zap of electric fear that jolted her breathless. With every agonizing second, the room vibrated with their cries, wrapping around her heart and squeezing tighter. The shadows morphed into shapes darting around the machine, forming clawed hands reaching for her, beckoning her closer. "No!" She screamed, backing away, panic gripping her throat. But the voices of her children swirled deeper, drowning out her defiance. Then she caught sight of something glinting metal, sharp and dangerous, nestled in the intake of the machine. It was a key, glimmering like hope amidst the terror. Lisa's instincts kicked in. If she could just reach it with breath held tight, she lunged forward as shadows lashed at her, clawing desperately at her ankles, pulling her back. Terror blurred her vision, but she wouldn't falter now. She had to save them. Just as her fingers grazed the metal, the machinery screeched louder. A crash of metal against metal filled the air. The world tipped, and Lisa felt herself losing balance, yanked back by an unseen force. "Mommy!" The shadows writhed, coiling around her with a sickening grip. She squeezed her eyes shut as the darkness enveloped her once more, primal fear clawing at her sanity. What lurked in the shadows? What would she uncover? And what price would she have to pay to save her children from this living nightmare? The echo of their cries faded into the ominous hum of machinery, leaving behind a chilling question: could she survive the secrets buried in this haunted workshop? Lisa's heart pounded in her chest as the shadows tightened their grip, squeezing out the last remnants of hope. She was swallowed by darkness, her thoughts spiraling into a void of panic. The machine throbbed with a menacing life of its own, a cold, metallic heartbeat pulsing like a war drum, daring her to act. She fought against the shadows, flinging her arms in desperation, searching for an anchor in this swirling chaos. Every instinct told her to flee, to escape this twisted nightmare. But she couldn't leave. Not yet. "Mommy! Please!" The cries surged again, piercing through the cacophony. She felt them deep inside, each plea for help igniting a fierce determination in her. Lisa clenched her fists, summoning what little strength remained. The key she had to reach for the key, drawing in a shaky breath, she lunged forward once more. This time, she could feel the cold metal beneath her fingertips. Wrenching it free came with a burst of light that momentarily split the darkness. The shadows shrieked as the machine sputtered, radiating an energy that vibrated through her bones, but the light was fleeting, dimming as quickly as it had appeared. As she rolled over onto her back, the key clutched tightly in her hand, she felt an abrupt coldness envelop her. The shadows recoiled, reforming around the machine, and in their retreat, they whispered secrets tainted with despair. Release us. What could she do? The weight of their anguish absorbed into her, drowning her resolve. It was maddening to think, were they beyond saving? Or were their cries merely echoes from a tragedy that had long cast its shadow upon this forsaken workshop? Mom, the voice twitched, twisted by the weight of despair. She glanced up, and in that murky twilight, she saw faces materializing from the shadows, distorted and broken, reaching out to her. The children, were they indeed lost within this hellish machine? The realization sent a chill coursing through her. Mommy. The word echoed, clearer now, filled with urgency, yet mingled despair. The key fell from her hand, clattering to the floor, lost in the chaos around her. She shook her head, desperate to comprehend the horror unfolding before her. The machine loomed ever larger, its whirring gears slicing through her thoughts. Each whine curled deep into her mind, piercing like shards of ice. Without thinking, she scrambled away from the dreadful appendages reaching for her, her hands scraping against the gritty floor. She had no time to waste. If the machine wasn't already feeding upon their despair, it would soon be. Lisa, the sorrowful murmur rang out again, conjuring memories of joy she shared with her children, now memories glimpsed through a thick veil of shadows. The walls around her started to breathe a heavy, desperate gasp that mixed hope and terror into one choking mist. Stealing her will, she crawled back toward the machine, now less a monster and more a cage. The key remained entrapped in her mind, a thread of determination tugging her towards reckoning. She needed to know what lay within those tangled gears, the only thing standing between her and her children, but just as she reached the heart of the monster, another wail echoed, this one sharper, more unified. It formed into a chorus of voices blending into one anguish-laden cry. Suddenly, the machine lurched, flexing as if it were alive, as shadows twisted and writhed as desperation surged. Help us, Lisa gasped. The shadows thrummed, a sinister rhythm guiding the machine's gears. The voices of her children called them forth, but the machine itself, the thing housing their torment, seemed to be saying, join us. Fighting back tears, she searched for a way to dismantle this dark sanctuary. The key glinted at her once more, reminding her of her purpose, but another shadow peeled away, revealing a lurking terror. Rebarbs of agony and sharp edges of despair twisted at her heart. Clutching the key, she barely managed to remain upright. The shadows receded just enough for her to see faint outlines of small, trapped shapes inside the machine, faces twisted in anguish that looked like her children, and then, as if sensing her resolve, the chamber shook violently. Let them go. She screamed, her voice cutting through the smog of despair, but a sinister whisper ran through the darkness, threading ice down her spine. You don't understand. What did she not understand? A primal urge for survival surged. Could she withstand a deeper plunge into this web of terror? The machine tremored again, as a fissure split open in its side, the darkness spilling forth around her, taunting with unseen eyes. What lay beyond it? And was she truly ready to gnaw through the fleeting, fragile strands of hope? The time to make a choice drew closer. The abyss beckoned, and as she stepped forward, the line between salvation and doom began to blur. Could she still save her children from this living nightmare, or was she leaping into a trap resting on the precipice of despair? They needed her, and Lisa wouldn't falter now, not when the stakes were life and death. The dim hallway ahead flickered in uncertain light, but a flicker was still hope. What awaited her in that darkness? Lisa's breath quickened, each inhalation shallow as her eyes flicked across the darkened room, searching for the source of the whispers. The shadows seemed to pulse and recoil, as if the darkness itself felt a surge of fear at her resolve. Yet, she pressed on, knowing that whatever lurked in that machine could not be allowed to snatch away her children. The fissure in the machine widened, showing a glimpse of writhing shapes beyond. Desperation clawed at her throat as the voices intensified, a cacophony of betrayal and sorrow mixing into one unbearable surge. "Mommy!" they called, and each plea gripped her heart like a vice, tearing at her sanity. "Help me please!" It was the voice of her daughter, Clara. The sound cracked the air like a whip, sharp and jarring. Lisa staggered backward, feeling the cool metal of the machine against her trembling hands. It was like a curse, every inch of it alive, every whirring gear a reminder of her failure to protect her children. What if Clara was trapped inside? What if both were? Her mind raced, and for a moment, she staggered in place, torn between fear and love, terror and determination. "Mommy! You have to help us." Clara's voice cut through her thoughts, laced with a haunting desperation that twisted deeper than mere words could portray. Its urgency reverberated through the shadows, echoing in her core. "Stop!" Lisa could no longer hold back. The anger surged, spilling over the brink of her fear. "You won't take them. I will save them." The shadows surged forward, thick and heavy, as if they were a living wall intent on dragging her back into despair. Lisa grasped the key tightly, feeling it burn against her skin. With reckless abandon, she dove into the fissure, unable to stop herself. The air was cold and stank of decay, wrapping around her like a living blanket. Darkness enveloped her, but she didn't stop moving. The cries were louder now, pulling her deeper, further into the unknown. The machine seemed to warp, expanding and contracting, melding with the shadows. A frightful screech pierced her ears, a sound that felt barely human yet filled with an agonizing familiarity. She stumbled forward, feeling the surge of energy from the machine shift. The air became thick, cloying, suffocating. She could almost taste the bitterness of fear. The walls around her bent and warped, reflecting twisted shapes that seemed to be reaching for her, mocking her every effort to proceed, and then there was light a flicker in the depths of the shadows. With an instinct driven by sheer will, she pushed forward, drawn to the illumination like a moth to a flame. With each step, the cries of her children synchronized with the hum of the machine. Their urgency fueled her desire to reach them, to pull them out of the nightmare, but suddenly, everything went still. The cacophony silenced, leaving her alone in a vast emptiness where even the shadows seemed to hold their breath. Lisa's heart thundered in her chest. "Clara! Jake!" she called, her voice trembling. The silence was deafening, wrapping around her and leaving her feeling isolated, abandoned to the unknown. Then, from the depths of the shadows, a new voice emerged, a low, resonating chuckle laced with malice. "You brave little mother, but for what? Do you think you can save them from what they've become?" A wave of dread washed over her. Could it really be true? Was there no saving them? What was the price she would have to pay to confront this darkness? She took a hesitant step backward, but the shadows surged forward again, snatching at her limbs, dragging her closer to despair. "Join us," they murmured softly, the words curling around her like smoke. "Let us show you the truth." Lisa froze, a chilling realization dawning on her. What truth? A truth marred by the very despair she fought against. Did she dare uncover it, or would it bind her as tightly as the shadows bound her children? The chilling laughter echoed in her ears, as her heart sank. The machine creaked ominously, reshaping itself under the weight of secrets. There was no turning back. Would discovering the truth cost her everything, or could she grab hold of her last thread of hope before it unraveled completely? The darkness whispered her name once more, and she knew one thing: she had to find out what lay ahead. Could she confront the horrors that awaited her, or would she become just another voice in the chorus of despair? Lisa stood at the precipice, her senses stretched to their limits. The darkness pulsed rhythmically, like a heart beating in time with her own frantic rhythm. The manipulation of shadows loomed larger, their whispers intensifying, pressing against the fragile walls of her mind. "Join us." The phrase slithered through the oppressive air, calling, beckoning. "No!" She screamed into the void, her voice sharp enough to send ripples through the icy silence. She refused to be drawn into their twisted embrace, yet the shadows responded, shifting with a malicious delight. With renewed determination, Lisa advanced into the golden glow ahead, where the cries of her children merged seamlessly with the pulsing light. The ground beneath her felt soft, almost watery, rising and falling like a living creature, beckoning her to succumb. The warmth of the light cradled her like a mother, promising safety. But in the back of her mind, a warning bell rang, a faint cry of instinct. "Mommy! Help us!" Clara's voice reached her again, clearer now. She could almost see her daughter's face, wide-eyed and desperate, in the flickering light. But the shadows retaliated, roaring in unison, drowning Clara's voice with a cacophony of anguish. "You'll join us soon, dear mother," they taunted, their words a sickly sweet poison. "Come embrace the truth." Lisa shivered. The air thick with foreboding clutched at her throat. Every instinct screamed at her to turn and run, but more than ever, she needed to find Clara and Jake. With each desperate step into the light, she tried to shut out the chorus of despair, the chilling echoes of lost hopes. Suddenly, from the flickering light, a shape emerged, a figure cloaked in shadows yet imbued with an eerie luminescence that made it strangely familiar. It stepped forward, and recognition crashed over Lisa like a wave. It was Clara. "Mom!" Her daughter's outstretched hands were filled with shadows, clutching at something unseen. "Please. They're trapped. You have to pull them out." Tremors coursed through Lisa as she reached for her daughter, but the shadows roared in anger, swarming towards Clara. "No!" she gasped, her heart lurching. The darkness enveloped her child, a dark cloud swallowing her whole, and Lisa felt the walls of her own resolve cracking under the pressure. "Foolish woman," the voice seeped from the shadows, its tone dripping with contempt. "She belongs to us now. Your bond only feeds the madness. Not my children." Lisa screamed, terror surging through her veins, filling her with strength and instinctive, primal instinct to protect. She lunged forward into the light, reaching for Clara, but the shadows pulled back, dragging her further into their treacherous depths. She could feel icy fingers grasping her ankles, tearing at her resolve. "Help me!" Clara screeched, struggling against her unseen captors, but Lisa could do nothing but watch as the darkness tightened its grip. "Join us!" they hissed again, their voices a chilling symphony dripping with madness. "No! I will not!" With every ounce of strength, Lisa yanked her foot free, the shadows snarling in protest. Her fingers brushed against the metal of the key again, and an idea pulsed within her, a flicker of hope amidst unrelenting despair. "Light! I need light!" she cried as a new wave of determination coursed through her. If she could just unlock the truth hidden within the machine, perhaps she could light the path to rescue. With that thought, she thrust the key toward the heart of the shadows, praying for a miracle. But as the shadows writhed, Lisa felt the life within them surge, the machine around her vibrating violently, shifting and groaning in response to her desperate plea. Everything went still again, the light dimming as whispers swirled around her like a tempest. "You want the truth?" they taunted, their voices wrapping around her heart like chains. "Then prepare to face your worst fears." A sudden ripple of blinding light shot through the darkness, illuminating every corner of the room. Lisa gasped, panic igniting as she stumbled backward. What emerged was far worse than she could have imagined, a shadowy image of her children, twisted and contorted in agony, faces marred by despair, and then it dawned on her, a horrifying realization. "Clara! Jake! Wake up!" she cried, but the darkness only laughed. As the light flickered again, Lisa's heart raced. Could she truly set them free, or was she the one who would become trapped within the machine's sinister embrace? The stakes had never been higher, and she knew she had to act fast. Before she could catch her breath, the shadows surged forward, converging on her, eager to steal her resolve. The darkness invited her in, promised her safety, but what awaited her on the other side? Was she ready for the secrets that would scar her soul forever? The shadows churned like a wild storm, closing in on Lisa, drawing her toward their abyss. Cold tendrils of fear wrapped around her heart, squeezing tighter. She clutched the key like a lifeline, its metal cool against her palm, a stark contrast to the sweltering dread that suffocated her. The darkness hissed, echoing with vile laughter, mocking her desperate attempts to rescue her children. "Face what you've hidden." One voice screeched, resonating from multiple angles. "Your failures, your guilt, they are all here." "Shut up!" Lisa screamed, her voice cracking. She felt a tidal wave of memories crashing around her. Bits of her past moments she thought she had buried emerged like ghosts clawing for breath. Images of her children laughing, then transitioning to cries echoing in futility, gnawed at her. "Clara! Jake!" She shouted their names, willing them into existence. Yet, with each utterance, the shadows responded, pushing harder against her, dragging the air from her lungs. "Why did you leave us?" Clara's voice echoed, fragmented and laced with anguish. "You didn't save us, no." "I tried." The truth lashed against her will. How many times had she swept their problems under the rug instead of facing them? The school meetings, the arguments, the lies she told herself. Pain throbbed in her chest, emboldened, Lisa pushed against the seething darkness. "I won't give up. I will save you," she declared, her spirit igniting with fierce determination. A primal scream erupted from her throat, a battle cry that reverberated through the shadows. Suddenly, the key flared, glowing bright as the sun, slicing through the darkness. The shadows recoiled, hissing like snakes caught in fire, revealing twisted forms that lurked just beyond the light. Chilling faces distorted, hollow-eyed, victims of their own despair emerged, dripping with malice. And for a fleeting moment, Lisa saw it, the truth in their torment mirrored her fears. "Help us, Mommy!" came a wail, heartbreaking in its clarity. Clara and Jake's faces flickered among the shadows, distorted yet pleading. They were trapped in an ever-tightening loop of despair, lost and desperate. "No, no, no!" she gasped. Frantic, she turned back to the glowing key. "What do I do?" she cried, holding it up like a shield against the encroaching darkness. The reply came on a whisper, chilling and seductive. "Let go," it said. "Embrace what you fear, become one with the shadows never." The resolve surged stronger than ever. She thought of her children, of their smiles, their joy. Taking a deep breath, she drove the key into the heart of the shifting shadows, feeling the energy pulse through her. The shadows writhed, twisting violently, a cacophony of screams and laughter blending into a haunting melody. She closed her eyes, focusing on the light, envisioning it surging forth to pull her children from their prison. In that moment, she felt a tug, a connection that drew her deeper, not into darkness, but toward the essence of her children. The echoes of joy and laughter reached her again, pushing against the despair, but the shadows fought back, pulling her, taunting her resolve. "Leave now, before it's too late. You will be one of us." Lisa's breath quickened. "If I fail," she realized, tightening her grip on the key, "then they will be lost forever." And just as she steadied herself, shadows erupted around her, carving out a path to truth and terror. It was now or never. She needed to act before the darkness consumed them all. "Clara! Jake!" she yelled one last time, stepping into the heart of the chaos, her heart pounding like thunder. In an instant, the world tilted, colors flashing wildly like a surreal nightmare. Which way was up? What awaited her on the other side? The ground trembled beneath her, the light flickering uncertainly, as she plunged deeper into the unknown. With every heartbeat, the shadows swirled, leaving her gasping for something, anything to save them all. But what awaited her at the conclusion of this desperate endeavor? Would enlightenment come at a price she wasn't prepared to pay? As darkness and light clashed violently around her, one chilling thought crept into her mind: was she truly ready to unravel the secrets buried deep within her soul? The shadows whispered sweetly, "The truth is waiting." Lisa felt herself being pulled into the void, the shadows wrapping around her ankles like gnarled fingers. Fear clawed at her throat, as if trying to strangle the last remnants of her hope. With a surge of energy, she raised the glowing key again, desperate for its light to guide her through the chaos. Suddenly, the laughter died down, replaced by a deafening silence. The air thickened, charged with tension, and Lisa could feel the weight of dozens of unseen eyes watching her every move. "What do you want from me?" she yelled into the suffocating darkness. "You already know," hissed the voice from before, a mocking echo that sent shivers down her spine. "You must choose. Save your children or confront your sins." The shadows around her twisted, morphing into vivid scenes from her past. She saw herself a younger version, frantically cleaning the same garage where she once repaired broken cars. Clara and Jake laughed on the sidelines, unbothered, yet those expressions turned to ones of worry and fear. "Mommy!" Jake's little voice rang out from behind the wall of shadows, filled with a desperation that tugged painfully at her heart. "Help us!" Lisa's breath hitched. I'm trying." But the plea felt weak, feeble against the intensity of the vision. "Let us go," Clara's voice chimed in, the once bright laughter now distorted with despair. "You have the power to set us free. Just unlock the truth." The key pulsed hot in her hand, as if sensing her turmoil. "Unlock the truth," she whispered, the words tasting foreign on her tongue. But what truth? The truth of a mother who couldn't save her children. Regret washed over her in waves. What if she had been a better parent? What if she hadn't drowned herself in work to escape the pain of reality? "Confront what you've hidden," the voice crooned, soft but insistent. "The garage holds more than oil and rust. It holds your fears and their fate." Suddenly, the shadows eclipsed the visions, pulling at her with renewed vigor. The faces of trapped souls swirled around her, their eyes wide with dread. "Join us!" they cried. "You can find solace in despair." "Shut up!" Lisa shouted, a primal roar fueled by anger, pain, and desperation. Clenching her jaw, she pushed with all her might against the darkness closing in around her. She became aware of a lingering stain on her conscience, something buried beneath her fury. It was guilt that linked the now to the then. The times she had left her children alone, the times she had brushed off their fears as childish. Like a crack of thunder, sudden clarity pierced through the fog. Could she truly face it? Taking a deep breath, she stepped forward, determined. "I will not abandon my children again," she vowed, raising the key high, feeling its warmth grow hotter, energizing her with newfound strength. "Tell me what to do." As if in answer, the shadows recoiled, creating a swirling vortex of light and dark around her. Lisa realized this was the moment she fought for, the moment to redeem herself. She had to face the reality hidden in the garage, secrets lurking within the walls, those she had been running from. With steady resolve, she marched toward the heart of the shadowy cyclone, the remnants of her past swirling furiously around her. She was terrified yet resolute to uncover the truth, whatever it may be. The pounding of her heart synchronized with the rhythm of her courage. "Lisa!" came the echoes of Clara and Jake, mingled with conflicting tones of joy and despair. "Help us please." And just as she felt herself tearing through the veil of darkness, a blinding flash overwhelmed her senses, leaving her both weightless and paralyzed. What awaited her on the other side? Was the truth she sought a mirror of her failures or a lifeline to salvation? As the light dimmed, revealing a familiar yet transformed space, one undeniable question loomed ahead: was redemption really possible in the flickering shadows of the garage, or was she too late to save them all? Lisa's heart pounded in her chest, louder than the gnarled voices that echoed around her. She felt the warmth of the key pulsing against her palm, a beacon of hope amidst the chaos. "Help us!" Clara's voice surged through the shadows, wrapping around her like a lifeline. She took a deep breath, summoning all her courage. The shadows danced, teasing her with darkness and despair. "I want to let you take them," she yelled defiantly, stepping into the swirling vortex between light and shadow. With the weight of all her regrets flooding her mind, Lisa forced herself to confront the truth she had long buried. A vision enveloped her, showing moments mist-clipped laughter, birthday parties where she had been absent, and whispered phone calls that left her children waiting on the other end. "I'm sorry, so sorry," she whispered, feeling tears sting her eyes. This was her reckoning. "Face it." The voice from the shadows hissed, "You cannot save them until you save yourself." With those words, the images intensified, flickering memories of a happier past that shifted to scenes of isolation, her children calling for her through an empty, darkened house. "No!" Lisa screamed, clutching the key. It glowed with a fierce light, illuminating the twisted faces that surrounded her, their gazes piercing. "I will not be afraid anymore." Suddenly, a surge of warmth flooded her veins. The key was alive with energy, pulsing as if aware of her renewed resolve. "Unlock the truth." A chorus of voices wailed in unison, urging her forward. Gathering her strength, she propelled herself toward the heart of the maelstrom, driven by love and guilt. The blinding light enveloped her, bringing her face to face with the twisted machine at the center of this dark world. Shadows lashed out at her, trying to pull her back into despair, but the truth brightened inside her. "I will save you. I promise." She thrust the key into the machine's core, a raw surge of energy erupting from it. The world rippled and shuddered, and for a heartbeat, silence fell. Then, it happened. A cacophony of wrenching sounds, like metal tearing apart, echoed all around her. The glamour above her head flickered as a wave of blinding light shattered the murkiness. Vines of darkness recoiled, revealing the faces of Clara and Jake, terror etched across their features but gradually shifting into expressions of profound relief. "Mom!" they cried, reaching for her through the dimming shadows. "Hold on!" Lisa shouted, her heart soaring as the darkness shrank back from the blazing light emitted by the key. She felt a surge of power running through her. "You're not lost. I'm here." As the last remnants of darkness collapsed, Lisa rushed toward them, her arms outstretched. "Mom, please." Jake's voice cut through the chaos, and with every ounce of strength, she pulled them into her embrace. The moment felt electric, both freeing and heavy, as they intertwined their arms, the bond twisting against the remnants of despair surrounding them. "I'm so sorry, I love you," Lisa breathed, feeling the truth seep deep into her bones as the machine shuddered and groaned. It was caving into itself, collapsing under the weight of everything hidden. The shadows melted away, flickering like candles blown by a breeze. In an instant, the garage transformed. The walls, once looming and suffocating, became bright and welcoming. The air felt lighter, charged with hope as the once twisted machinery crumbled to dust. The room glowed with the innocence long forgotten, laughter echoing in harmony again. A gentle hand brushed Lisa's shoulder. She turned to see Earl standing at the threshold. His twisted smile had vanished, replaced with a solemn nod of understanding. "You faced your demons, Lisa. They are free now," he said softly, his figure fading among the brightening light. As the last shadows faded, Lisa held her children tightly, the warmth of their presence igniting joy that had once seemed out of reach. "Let's go home," she whispered, and they stepped together beyond the remnants of the haunted garage, the Smoky Mountains now appearing serene and alive. The sky overhead opened, spilling golden sunlight that bathed them in warmth. They walked forward, hand in hand, into a future bright with possibilities. And finally, Lisa felt a weight lift from her heart. No longer shackled to her past, she embraced her children like lost treasures reclaimed, cherishing every moment as they headed back to the path of life, a family reunited and forever bonded. This is your call to action. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss any of the exclusive stories we have lined up for you. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and support the channel. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. Your thoughts matter. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this closure. Let us fill the world with our shared stories.